So I wrote down all the notes that I thought were very relevant to the topic. So for the first slide, on the First Amendment, I wrote that it was free speech, which is what everybody knows, but specifically in Tinker versus Des Moines, the court ruled students were allowed to wear black armbands as a freedom of speech to protest the Vietnam War, which I thought was very interesting because I did not know about that before. Students were able to use their freedom of speech for such things such as voicing their opinions and protesting. So I thought that was interesting for how it started in school specifically, and how that led to us being able to say what we want to say to this day. The 10th and 14th Amendments were the 10th one was it allows states to govern school rules. So I put an example. Some states allow students to be corporal punished, which paddling and other things. And that was interesting to me because the states can basically make a lot of their own rules. And the 14th Amendment allows schools to deny students due process. So, for example, if you get sent to the principal's office, you don't have to go to court or anything. They can just send you straight to detention or whatever they please. So, on the second slide, I wrote down notes for Lemon versus Kurtzman. And I wrote down what the ruling was about. And it was about if a state law violates religious freedom. I also wrote down all the prongs, which it had three. Which prong one being, the secular legislative purpose, and prong two and three are written down also. Segregation, desegregation, integration. I wrote down all the definitions per the slide. So legal and social separation based on race, desegregation, abolish racial segregation, and integration was a court strategy to achieve racial balance. So those are basically the definitions of those. Plessy versus Ferguson was a big case, of course, and it outlawed being kept separated in schools by segregation. So it was basically a big one for schools and helped the man's daughter become integrated inside the school that she lived next to rather than an all black school. Brown versus Board of Education is written down here. United States made it separate but equal after Plessy versus Ferguson. Um, Thurgood Marshall argued for his daughter, Topeka, and the court made a unanimous decision. Title VI shows the programs and activities receiving federal assistance cannot be discriminated against, while Title VII is abuse or racial motive sparked a need for change. So the time had come to abolish discrimination and prevents discrimination of employers for different races. The Civil Rights Act was basically all the titles put into one. So outlaws discrimination, voter registration in schools, employment, and public accommodations. Title IX was one of the last ones, and it was basically that nobody could be discriminated against sex. Affirmative action is the favoring of individuals belonging to groups that were discriminated against previously, which leads to reverse discrimination concerns with people that weren't discriminated against feeling like others were getting a better opportunity than them. Section 504 prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. PL 94-142 ensure the appropriate education with students with disabilities, and Individuals with Disabilities Education Act helped get special students the support they needed to achieve their goals, which implemented the RTI with the three tiers, and tier 3 used for the most need-based students with delivered by special ed teachers. And lastly, or second to last, I have the employee monitoring of email and texting, and they can monitor anything that goes on in the school server. Social networking, you gotta watch what you post. And cheating with technology, students are doing it a lot more these days than they used to be, with technology being big. And this is the table.